So this is the final video. This is the wrap up. And you've seen a glimpse of part of the nightmare that I've lived as you watch these videos. And at the conclusion of this, we have a lot of people that aren't what I cracked them up to be. And like I told you, they took away my Adderall. And when they took away my Adderall, my Adderall medicates my attention problems. It also medicates my concentration difficulties and other aspects of my PTSD. There's something funny going on there with my brain chemistry. Then my Adderall medicates my PTSD. And after they take away my Adderall, I get into the state where all I do is pace the floors all day. And I suffer like hell. And then, unable to do anything to fight for my life. I lose my apartment in November of 2021. I have to move into this tiny apartment with my mother. We've got a back bedroom. It's full of clutter. And so I sleep in the living room, and it's a tiny living room that I sleep in, on a mattress that sits on top of a fold-away couch, and the couch folds out and put a mattress on top of it. And it's a one-bedroom apartment. My mother has a love seat that's next to my next to this couch where I got my mattress. She sleeps there. Our main living space that I live in here is probably about 100 square foot, 120 square foot, something like that. Maybe a little more. We got a tiny bathroom. We got a tiny kitchen. And that first day after we leave Charlotte, we pack up all my stuff, and we come back and we move into this. We come back and move into this apartment. Move me into this apartment, and as soon as I walk through the door, there's dog shit on the floor. And I see after walking the door, I'm in the kitchen. And luckily, that's not a problem anymore. The dog is trained. It's just that where Mom had been gone for so long, as they're packing me up, that the dog didn't have any pads set out, and didn't have any time to put any pads. The dog had run out of pads to use. But there's this dog shit on the floor, and then I go to pour a bowl of Frosted Flakes, and when I go to pour a bowl of Frosted Flakes, a bunch of roaches fall out with the flakes. And so this is my new life, that I walked into, and luckily, they've got rid of the roaches here. We don't have to deal with that anymore. But I had no ability to make an income. I was handicapped. My disability, I got denied again. So I applied in 2020. They denied me in 2020. I appealed that. They denied me again. And this is because my healthcare records are fraudulent. They don't reflect my impairment. And so then I applied again in 2021. They denied me again. I appealed in late 2021. And I told them how my healthcare records were fraudulent, which I've told them that before. And so what they do is, I moved back into my apartment. I moved into this apartment with my mother. And they allow to collect a bunch of medical records. They take a bunch of months to allow a bunch of medical records to build up for my new provider. And my new providers, they accurately reflected my condition, and I got approved very easily. Okay, but for a long time, that was in June of 2022, and for the longest time, for the whole time, I didn't have any income. Okay, and it was stressing me out to death. All this money problems, it was killing me. I had food stamps. My food stamps were running out, and I was worried I wasn't going to be able to afford food if they declined me again. And, I wanted a brain scan to help with my disability application because I knew my records were fraudulent. But if I had a physical picture of my brain, or a physical image of my brain chemistry that would document my brain injury, my PTSD, that's what I wanted. But I got a brain scan for Wells Fargo's purposes instead, for the sake of nothing. Okay, so that's what I get out of my fight for justice. That I send to the United States Department of Justice, this airtight case. I was in the same airtight case to the North Carolina Department of Justice, and that's what I've got. And I've got a brain scan that was done for Wells Fargo's purposes that my poor aunt paid for. Now, in this condition that I was in, I couldn't concentrate at all. And my new healthcare provider that I first got when I came here wouldn't prescribe me my Adderall that I needed. Their policy is they only prescribe it if you have paperwork from your grade school for when you were diagnosed, and I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until I was an adult, and so I didn't have the paperwork from the school, and so I had to be without Adderall for several months, and I was in such condition that I couldn't really do much of anything to help with my life, that I had to make phone calls and stuff like this to call my medical people, to call Social Security. And usually, it was a good day if I could get one phone call made that day. That I was so impaired that everything that I do kills me. That I have to build up the willpower to pace the floors for hours to build up the willpower to make a phone call, and then I would be done for the day. I wouldn't be able to get anything else done. And so it took me several months before I was able to complete all the steps in the process to get a new healthcare provider. The people up here, they referred me to this place, and then this place referred me to somebody else. But I was able to get my Adderall back, got my medication, and that was in June of 2022, June or July, I believe it was. I think it was June. And that has helped me out tremendously. And my PTSD symptoms have gone away, or not gone away, but they've been lessened a lot by the passage of time, and also it's got better over time. And also my Adderall medicates that somehow. I don't know how it is, but there's a common brain chemistry somehow. That my Adderall medicates my PTSD, and it particularly medicates my increased concentration problems as a result of PTSD. And so now I'm much better able to function than I was before. But the problem is I'm having problems with fatigue related to my physical health. That I'm still kind of disabled, and then my PTSD impairs my ability to work with other people. That I'm still very much, I'm handicapped to a large degree. I've got this fatigue. I've got something wrong with my heart. But this is destroyed. Any chance, this has destroyed my relationship with my mother. I don't like my mother at all anymore. I despise my mother. That she commits crimes for a $2 trillion bank against her own son, and she does it for free. Okay, she could have told them, "I'll do this for you, but you've got to do something for my son, or I won't do it." Okay, but she didn't tell them that. She could have asked them. She could have told them, "I'll do this, but it's going to cost you $5 million." Okay, any price she would have asked for out of this bank, she would have gotten. Okay, but she doesn't ask for any of that, and I have to come here and live in this apartment and live in torment and torture, and I cannot tell you. Okay, the first off, my suffering is torment, and then the stuff that I have to put up with and deal with living in this apartment. I'm not going to get into the details of it. It's absolutely, it's a nightmare. Okay, and I live in terrible. I'm suffering. And hardship, and I dreamed of the day that the United States Department of Justice helps me. I dreamed of the day that I would get my dignity back, and that is my delusion. Okay, they got all these fraudulent claims about me having delusions. The one delusion that I have had is that the United States Department of Justice gives a damn about who this bank hurts. Okay, it does not care at all. I was so convinced. I knew that these people, that they would see this merciless abuse of a kind-hearted man for no reason. Okay, kind-hearted man that did nothing to them. Okay, did nothing to any of these people except work as hard as I could to be the best person I could be for them, to be the best employee, kill myself. Okay, working for their bank. Okay, the United States Department of Justice would be appalled, and they would want to hold these people accountable. Hell no. Okay. Atrium Health, I thought so well of my hospital for so long, but let's face it, they're a bunch of thugs. Okay, their behavior is giving it away. They see their patients, these poor and vulnerable patients that they brag about in their financial statements, serving these vulnerable populations. Well, the vulnerability Well, first off, these patients are dollar signs. Okay, that's how Atrium Health sees them. Atrium Health, their executives, there's an article in the Charlotte Observer about how their executives, their pay goes up dramatically every year. The chief executive, the highest level executive, I believe is the CEO, has had his salary and his compensation, double and triple over a period of years. Okay, the Atrium Health, with the way that the CEO is apparently compensated on the financial performance of the hospital, they have debt to service, they have fixed expenses, they basically have a parallel set of incentives that cause them to behave just like a for-profit, money-driven. I don't want to say greedy, but maybe that's right. Greedy, money-driven, whatever you want to say, corporation. That's how they are, and they don't respect the dignity of their patients. That's apparent in their behavior. Okay, they've got their financier mercilessly abusing their patient. They got their financier abusing the facilities that are there for the most vulnerable people in my county, in my city where I live in Charlotte. Okay. And this hospital is not offended in the least by this, okay, knowing that they get taxpayer-funded dollars for poor people to pay for these facilities, to pay for these salaries, to pay for these hospital stays. Okay, it all comes out of Medicaid gap funds and stuff like this. They don't give a damn about these funds being misused by a $2 trillion bank to cover up its crimes. Okay, when their financier abuses their patients, they don't help their patients. They jump in the dog pile with their financier. Okay, they care about money. And the vulnerability of their patients has two effects. One is it causes them to be disinhibited and to not take their patients' rights seriously. And two, it pumps them up about what kind of crimes that they can get away with. So that's what's to be said for Atrium Health. And of course, there's no even point in bringing up Wells Fargo. Okay, this bank, it has no interest in doing what's right, none whatsoever. It's going to break the law, and it does as it pleases. And so that's a takeaway. One takeaway is do not do business with Wells Fargo. Okay, there's no point on earth in doing business with this bank. They're incompetent, vicious criminals, and when they mess up, you pay for it. Okay, they don't pay for it. They pay the price. You pay the price when they mess up, when they commit crimes against you, when their incompetence harms you. Okay, when they do you wrong, you pay the consequence. The victim pays the consequence, and they have as their accomplice the highest authorities in all the land of the United States Department of Justice. Is a criminal accomplice of this bank. Okay, that does as it pleases with you, and it does as it pleases with everyone else. So there are plenty of other banks out there that either A, aren't above the law the way this bank is, or B, aren't such incompetent criminals that there's no point, no point in not going to one of those other banks. And you also, when you do business with this bank, you are funding a terrorist superpower. Okay, that mercilessly abuses innocent people like me, that mercilessly abuses other innocent people, and that will mercilessly abuse you the second that your interest and their interest don't align. Okay, takeaway number 2 is if this bank does do something to you, do not contact the depraved con men and murderers at the United States Department of Justice. Okay, they don't care who this bank hurts. They don't care that this bank hurts you. It doesn't matter who the bank hurts as long as it's not them. Okay, that's the sense I get from the United States Department of Justice. Is if Wells Fargo does something to harm somebody high up in the Justice Department, well, then they'll pay consequences. Okay, but until then, the Justice Department couldn't care less who this bank hurts. All they're concerned with is making sure this bank doesn't face consequences. And the U.S. Department of Justice, United States of America, will sponsor this bank's crimes and participate and initiate its own criminal behavior, if that's what it takes, to make sure that this bank doesn't have to pay the cost of its own conduct. Okay, the United States Department of Justice has no interest in holding this bank accountable. and to the contrary, appears to be hell-bent on the outcome that this bank becomes a murderer in real time, right in front of the Justice Department, on the Justice Department's watch. Okay, that I sent the Justice Department emails telling them that I'm almost dying in my sleep, and what do? They continue to massacre me with vicious crimes. Okay, these people are vicious, indecent criminals, and those are the defining features of what's happened to me. Is a complete lack of decency among all parties. Okay, among Wells Fargo, Atrium Health, the United States Department of Justice, complete lack of decency, and ruthless, unrelenting cruelty. Okay, those are the defining features, and I hope that when my story gets out there, if and when it does, that people learn something about this, and that they learn from this, and they're able to allow it to inform their view of their country, to inform their view of the United States of America, to inform their view of Wells Fargo, and to inform their view of how justice is administered in this nation, and how that there are, without a doubt, two sets of rules for people to follow. There's one set of rules for the powerless people, and one rule for the powerful. Okay, the set of rules that the powerless people play by is all of these tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of pages of laws that have been codified. That the authorities can at will prosecute the daylights out of people for those. Okay, that's the rules for the powerless people. The one rule, notice I didn't say rules plural for the powerful. The one rule for the powerful, at least for Wells Fargo, is do as you freaking please. And if you get in trouble, come back to your nanny, the United States Department of Justice, and we'll help you out. We'll make sure that you have to pay the consequences of your own actions. And feel free to bring waltz into our office with the evidence of the latest crime that you've committed, like they did with these healthcare records that Wells Fargo illegally obtained and presented to them. Okay. I wish I had something better to say. I really wish. I hate what is happening to Wells Fargo. Okay, I hate how its business can't get its act together, how they won't get their act together, how they're always in the news, how all this potential, $2 trillion assets, that's a lot of assets. Okay, this bank has enormous resources, it has enormous capacity to be a force for good in the world, and to see that capacity squandered, and to have them otherwise, and to see how their resources are otherwise employed to do things like this to me, to hurt other people, to cheat other people, it is terrible. Okay, and I mourn the days when I thought so well of the Department of Justice, when I thought that they would help me, when I thought that they would be appalled, when I thought that they would care about what had happened, who this bank hurts, that they would care about this merciless victimization of me, okay, that there would be people who have compassion and a true sense of justice, and who would approach this issue with moral courage. I had a sense, as I'm fighting my fight, as I'm building my evidence, as I'm writing my complaint, as I'm doing all of this, I had a sense that this would be really hard for them, that it might be such that we've got to kind of do some workarounds. We've got to do something because the economy might be at stake. I wasn't for sure, but I thought, this situation with me could pose a threat to the economy. But I thought the United States Department of Justice, they'll do something. Okay, they'll work around. They'll approach this with moral courage. They will see that we've got a real problem here. Okay, that we've got a situation with this bank and its capacity to break the law with impunity that's not doable, that we've got to do something. So maybe they contact Congress and then have some laws written, or have a committee hearing where they discuss this. Okay, and maybe if they can't prosecute the bank, I don't want the bank prosecuted first, I want the individuals, but maybe these individuals, their position in the bank is such that they're above the law. Maybe we could prosecute some of the small fries. Okay, that the Justice Department could do something to add validity to my claims. Okay, and I could get this in the media, and that I could get a civil settlement. Or maybe the Justice Department, these people, these executives, they might be above the law, but they won't call the Justice Department's bluff. They say, hey, listen, you're going to have to make it right with this person that you've done this to, or we're going to prosecute you. Okay, they'll make it right. With their enormous resources, it wouldn't be a problem for them to make this right. And I repeatedly offered to help Wells Fargo over and over again. Once I figured out that there's no way in hell that Wells Fargo is going to be punished for this, and I thought the Justice Department was helping me, I offered to help. I would help Wells Fargo rebuild their business. I would do whatever it took. I offered in a million ways to help the Justice Department. Okay, but instead of this morally courageous approach, where they attack this problem head on, where they do something to make it right for me, and they do something to address the situation that is not tenable. We cannot have this. Okay, or we should not have this. Okay, where this bank and perhaps other banks like it. I don't know of any other bank that's a criminal to this extent or nowhere near it. But any of these other banks that are too big to fail, who's to say they don't go off the rails one day? Okay, but instead of this moral courage, it is abject moral cowardice and the cruel abuse of a disabled man while they simultaneously coddle and caress these ultra-powerful thugs at this ultra-powerful Wall Street bank. It is sickening.